Alright, so what we're going to have here is an Xbox with the red ring of death. I'm going to show you how to fix it. TV. Oh, there we go. Still got those 3 rings. Well, what I might have to do is actually just check. You can hold this down, push this and the power button at the same time, and that'll actually give you a code and tell you what's wrong with it. Pretty much the reason why I diagnosed that it was having a problem is exactly the reason. And there you go. Your 360 console is designed to automatically shut down and protect you from insufficient ventilation. But you can see the fans. Obviously don't stick your finger in there because they're moving, but you can see the fans are blowing. They're doing what they got to do. So what happens is the system overheats, and then this is what it's doing. And you can hear the whine. You have 2 fans in the back here. Let me just go ahead and unplug this. I don't want to open the system up with it plugged in, obviously. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at this real fast. You have 2 fans that are in the back here with all these vent ports. And these fans cannot pull enough heat away from the heatsink, and it overheats the CPU, GPU, and then it just causes it to malfunction. First off, I ended up taking the front cover off. Alright, as we start to take the system apart, like I said, I took the front plate off, and that I was just able to stick my fingernails under and just kind of pry it up, and it popped right off. And it doesn't take much effort to do it. As you can see, there's a clip there, and a clip there. Go ahead and flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so that's off. All the clips are still intact. You don't have to beat on them. Just a little bit of gentle prying with a screwdriver in each of the holes, and they're pretty much marked right here. Everything will come apart. And now we're left with this section exposed. This is for the bottom half, or the top half I should say. And you can see you have those same clips right there. They're all intact. Everything is pretty much clipped in place. So I'll get all these clips off here. So I got this clip lifted, that clip lifted, that one right there, and that one right there. And then everything should just start to come apart here. Before I took the whole shell off, I went ahead and popped this piece off. And to do that, it basically sits inside here. And you just have to pry in this little clip right here, move it over, and it'll just fall right out of place. Let's go ahead and start getting the rest of this taken off. I got it open, but I don't know if the previous person tried to super glue it or what, but this thing did not want to budge. I really had to pry. You can see all the damage that got done. So if you want your system to be pristine, good luck on that one. But other than that, you know, if you want it to work, this will end up doing the trick for you. But yeah, you're definitely going to be in for a fight when it comes to these. I ended up cutting my finger and everything, so lots and lots of fun. Ended up busting one little tiny pocket screwdriver, and then had to grab another pocket screwdriver. That's what I used. A little flathead pocket screwdriver to be able to pop that out. So let's go ahead and start to get the rest of this undone, and I'll show you what that looks like. Now comes to the fun part. I've got to use this star pattern bit right here. To get this other side of the shell off, you're going to have to take these silver bolts with the star pattern. See how long they are. These are the ones that are going to have to come loose. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then this should come off of here. Famous last words, right? Yep, there we go. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and pop this open now, and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, just a word of caution. Always be careful when you're touching this. Make sure it's not plugged in. And then definitely make sure that you're careful even after it's unplugged, because sometimes current can still be carried in the capacitors and anything else that might be in here. So just a word of caution. And in order to get that shell off, all you need to do was remove all these. And I like to keep all my stuff where I can find it, so it's all in the shell. I know what I used. And you see how nasty that is. So we're going to go ahead and clean that up. We are going to double check the fans, and we are going to clean this up and make sure that this thing can actually disperse the heat. This is basically like a little mini radiator, something that you'd have on a car, and this is going to disperse heat. The fans are going to draw the heat out the back and away from the computer board, so that way things can function. If this overheats, it doesn't want to run. Now again, still unplugged, pulling all the pieces off. This is just held in with a plastic clip right there, so you can push that down and it'll pop out of this little spot. It'll come out, again, putting it where it belongs so I can find it. all this is going to get cleaned out. Let's take a look inside there. You see how dusty it is inside. And this is just held on with a piece of security tape right there. So there's really nothing to undo over here, but here's how everything looks. And then we're going to go ahead and clean all this dust off and make sure the fans are all cleaned off. So let's get that off there. All this is completely cleaned off, blown out. You can use compressed air, baby wipe, toilet paper, whatever, just so you get all that dust off. Heck, blow it off with your mouth if you want, just trying to get as much off as possible. Let's go ahead and get the drive hook back up and see if it works. With everything cleaned up, this is just set back in here. I'm going to leave the top open, and then I want to run the system and then make sure everything's going to function now that all that dust is gone. This might have been a lot simpler fix than I anticipated. If the old style had blocks, they almost look like, you know, coated, powder coated blocks that would take the heat and disperse it, and these have fins like a radiator on a car. So just getting that dust off there might have solved the problem. So let's go ahead and get this thing plugged in, not touch any of this, just touch the power button and make sure the fans are functioning and make sure everything works, because no fans are unhooked. I did unhook this from the 2 plugs in the back, but I plugged all that back in and the game is still in there. So let's go ahead and see if this is going to function now. Alright, TV is plugged in now without actually touching any of that, because like I said, I don't want to get electrocuted. This is going to be plugged in. There we go, being snapped in place. And then let me get a pair of pliers or something to go ahead and pop this on. Okay, there we go. Let's see if this thing is going to function or not. Alright, let's get one of these controllers turned on. I mean, right now it is functioning. Getting our wonderful pliers here. Game is a little scratched up, but it was still readable. This was just played a day ago. Okay, all that's plugged in. Just waiting on this. And I'm actually going to try to play a game this way. Play a quick 10-15 minute game and then find out and see if it's going to hold up. And if it does, then we'll consider our problem solved. Well, the system is still functioning, still playing the game. Now to put all this back together, we're just going to do it all in reverse. Now, the part where it gets the hottest is not here. I'll show you. Okay, this is push down. Don't make the mistake of trying to put this piece on first. You'll just be causing yourself problems. This is where it gets the hottest right here. This is the section that needs more ventilation, and with all these little vent holes it doesn't do enough. This computer board runs way too warm and it overheats the chips, and then the system wants to shut down. But let's get it all put back together. We got to go ahead and get all these screws put back in here. Remember, these long silver screws is what holds everything together, and it is very simple to put them all back, especially when you recorded it and you know where you got them from. Put them there. And here, and all this is going to hold everything on. Like I said, if you had an impact gun or a drill and you gently tighten these down, it's actually a lot easier than the way I'm doing it. But why take 30 seconds when you could take 3 minutes, right? I'll show you what this looks like when it's all pieced back together. I mean, you're going to know what it looks like, but just show you that I put it back together. Everything's put back together. Everything's clipped back in its place. Hard drive is on there. All the pieces, power button functions, everything functions. As you can see, it's powered on. There's no red light. Everything's functioning. So everything's pieced back together. We're going to let it be. If for some reason it needs more airflow, then we'll go ahead and create that, add extra fans if necessary. But right now everything's functioning, so we'll leave it be, and I'll give it an update in a while and let you know if it's still functioning.